Hello, everyone. Welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Thank you very, very much for being here. So, to my fellow Canadians, hope you had a lovely Canada Day yesterday on Tuesday. And for my American viewers, I wish you a happy 4th of July on Friday, which is the same day Pendulum Friday is going to come out. So don't forget to put your questions in the comment section below. And the amazing Joyce is compiling that for us this week. And so thank you, Joyce, for that. Okay. One more time for anybody who's looking for a reading, in the drop box below is an email address, soulprint888@gmail.com. Just send me out a request asking for information and I will send you stuff back. There isn't a long waiting list right now. So, if this is a good time, we're at the halfway point of 2025. I don't know how that happened. If you want to get a reading, don't hesitate to just send me out a request for information. It is the only place that you can connect with me. So if you're seeing it anywhere else, that would not be me. Okay. So July 1st. Wow. Now, because a couple of weeks ago, for those of you who may have missed it, I did a video with Kathy Beal, and she gave us infinite wisdom and understanding. So she already warned us that it was going to be, kind of an interesting summer. But and astrologically, I know there's some really big things going on, and I'm not going to even attempt to tell you what they are because I'll probably get it wrong. But there's planets that are going retrograde, and there's all kinds of stuff. There's a 7-year cycle starting, and there's something else that hasn't happened in 167 years or something. So there's a lot going on in July. So I thought I would ask the cards and see if the cards would like to tell me what they think we should know and be aware of as we head into the 7th month of the year 2025. Here we go. There's been a lot going on. Nothing feels particularly stable. It's like everything is shifting underfoot really quickly. What is news today is not news tomorrow because it changed or something else took its place. So, and it's been that kind of a year. And I think that it's going to continue to be that kind of a summer, frankly. All right. Let's see what the cards want to tell us about. Political. Good. Political situation USA, political situation USA, political situation USA. And as I said, this is for July. Oh, by the way, for anybody who saw my last video and I was talking about, I wonder if Mexico being, part of the whole American kind of continent, if they celebrated anything in July since Canada and the United States. And some lovely lady from Mexico sent me a message that said, no, we actually don't. Nothing in July and nothing in August. So now we have the answer. All righty. Oi, oi, oi. Oi, oi, oi. Okay. He's starting with the Knight of Swords. Okay, now this is followed by the Greedy King, right? And we know who this is. This is 45. He is going to continue to be aggressive and bombastic and lashing out when things don't go the way he wants them to go. And, he's got the sun here. So I hate to say this, But in some ways, over the course of certainly July, it looks as if to some degree or another, he is protected, maybe even considered successful. So, one of the things that has happened literally on late Sunday night, Monday morning, Carney and Trump had a conversation, and and Carney has stopped the digital service tax, which was why Trump freaked out and said he was stopping all negotiations. So apparently the two of them talked, and apparently they're now on track to, have a deal done by, I think it's July 21st, they said. So he's getting some wins. I suspect that there are some wins coming from the courts. And not make no mistake, there's losses. Okay, like overall, he's not he's not really getting ahead a whole lot. But the thing is, he's got enough that we have to then listen to. I heard that I don't even know what he is. That finance guy that's part of Ludwig or whatever his name is, basically saying, um, well, of course, Canada bowed down to the political and economic might of the United States. So what he got was bragging rights, right? I don't feel like Canada sort of bent over backwards. I suspect there's more going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Um, but what we know about is what we know about. But what's interesting is even though he's getting these small wins here and there, his state of confusion, triggered by all of this bloody aggression that's going on, his state of confusion is going to become more and more noticeable and more apparent. Um, there was a long-standing senator who just announced that, a GOP senator who just announced that he is not running for reelection. And I know I said that at some point that we're going to be hearing more and more of, older officials saying, I'm not going to run. They're probably going to use that whole, I need to spend more time with my family line. But so what you have now is you have people who are older and more established and they're pulling back because they're getting splashed, by the mud. And there is a concern that, their entire political career is going to be, demolished by this continuing process. And so it very much feels like he's going to lose some people, within the Republican Party. I think what you're seeing is the younger ones, the ones that have, I guess, more to gain, they think, by toughing it out. I don't see those guys moving, but some of the more established ones, I do see sort of pulling back. So we shall wait and see how that goes. The next two cards are interesting. It's a 2 and 3 of Wands. So he is going to continue to talk about what an amazing negotiator he is, and how everybody is complying with what he wants and what he demands. But a lot of it is smoke and mirrors. All right, it's like he gets the first step done and then pulls back and then goes forward and then pulls back, which is why he's now being referred to, as President Taco, right? Trump always chickens out. And you're going to see more of that. And what it's going to do is it's going to really, really create a lot of confusion. But we have to remember that this is a man who thrives in chaos. For many of us, we can't even wrap our heads around what that means or why it would be, but he does. And because of that, we need to be very mindful of the fact that it's his playbook, and he just sort of expects everybody else to adapt to it. Now, here comes the Five of Pentacles. So don't be surprised if in July you see more pushback by other countries in terms of sort of pushing him out and sort of isolating him, because that's what he's trying to do, right? He's trying to isolate the United States. And I think at some point other countries are like, okay, go ahead. I mean, well, we're not going to sit here and beg you. You clearly don't want to honor the sort of the traditions that have been established in your country for 200 and whatever years. So you go, you go do you, right? But it's going to become, I think, more and more noticeable, all right, that he's being somewhat ostracized or shunned. So, King of Wands, this has to do with, this actually is, this has to do with his inability to communicate effectively. He's getting more muddled and more confused. And yes, more and more people are kind of raising an eyebrow and going, what is going on with this guy? What's happening with his cognitive abilities? They're like dissipating on him. Except, of course, for, the GOP who thinks he's brilliant. You know what I mean? Or they didn't hear the interview, or they didn't hear about that. So they can just, wiggle out of having to comment on it. There's going to be some information, it looks like, coming out with, we've got the Three of Pentacles and the Ten of Pentacles. So this feels like in July, we're going to hear something about dark money passing hands, money being exchanged or offered. So the whole plane thing, they gave it to me as a gift, and they're saying, you better tell everybody that you asked us for it. More of that kind of stuff. The backroom deals that seem to be imploding a little bit. Expect that as we go forward through the month of July, you've got the Chariot. So things are going to get a little hectic, a little stressful. Eight of Wands. So a lot of communication happening, a lot of information coming out at us, almost, again, to a point where we can't absorb it, because whatever the news is today, that's not what the news is tomorrow. Either we've gone on to something else or something shifted and changed. So again, as I always say, pay enough attention so you know what's going on, but don't pay so much attention that it makes you crazy. Seven of Wands. You have to remember to protect yourself. Okay? The government per se is going to be defensive anyways. And the best response to that is, as I keep saying, know what's going on, but keep a distance from it, because it really, truly is hard to stay in that energy. All right, last three cards. We have Temperance. So, what people are hoping for in July is that balance, that things finally start to settle and balance out. But unfortunately, there's a lot of despair, frankly, and grief with the Five of Cups coming and the Nine of Swords. So things that are taking place with 45 within the political spectrum, it's going to be causing and creating stress, confusion, anxiety. This is for the GOP, but that energy has a way of, spreading itself out like a rock in a lake, right? And we all tend to feel the impact of that. So that's what's there. I'm just going to ask for any additional information. Spirit, what else can you tell us? Or what insights can you give us with regards to the political situation in the United States in July, and or an overall view of what we can anticipate globally in July? So I don't know how the dates on this work, but what they're saying basically is the first 3 weeks of July are going to be a little crazy. And then the last 2 weeks of July are going to be a little chaotic. Really? That's the best you could do? So, you know, listen, remember this. We are in a time of significant shifting and changing. And the dinosaurs are pushing back as hard as they can because they literally recognize that they are becoming extinct. And so, cornered animal, right? That's where you get the kind of volatility and the craziness that everybody's experiencing right now. Although those of you in the United States really are getting it with sort of both barrels. But change is coming, right? And you can't open your hand to reach out for change if your hand is closed tight, holding on to whatever it is that you currently have. And so for a lot of us, one of the things that is being suggested is that we focus on what we want. We focus on the way we want our countries to be and behave. We focus on the positive. We focus on a new wave of energy, a new way of thinking and processing. There's going to be, over the next handful of years, a lot of sort of AI technological advances, truly amazing advances. And so there's going to be a lot going on out there that's going to be needing and requiring our attention. So stay focused on the fact that this is a forward movement. We are moving forward. That momentum is building, and it's taking us to a much higher vibration. Where we're at right now is we're watching that lower vibrational energy crash, burn, dissipate, however you want to, say it. But it's not going off meekly. Okay. It's more like a thundering, dinosaur, right? Who's, shaking everything up as it exits, as it walks out. And so be mindful of that. Just keep a balance in your head about where we're going. It's not where we've been. And we should be all grateful for that, because while there was some really amazing stuff, there was also a lot of really horrible stuff. And in a lot of ways, it still hasn't been resolved. There's a lot of karma that different countries are carrying, and there needs to be some degree of resolution for that. There needs to be an acceptance of what the actual truth was and what the actual events were and how wrong they were. this neck of the woods here, in Canada, we're talking about the way the Aboriginal people were treated, right? The way the natives, sorry, I know that's not the right phrase. The First Nations, thank you, God. First Nations here in Canada were simply not treated well by people coming over from Europe and deciding that they had to claim the land. In the United States, by and large, it took the shape of slavery and latent discrimination that still goes on and for whatever reason is still accepted. So just keep in mind that you're not trying to go back to the way things were. The way things were needed to be corrected. This is the tower moment because the foundation wasn't solid. It needs to come down and then you start building. But right now, we're sort of in the middle of that tower vibrating and shaking. And it is really hard to stay centered and positive. But that's what we're going to all try really, really hard to do because that's where we truly get the best results. All right. Thank you so very, very much for being here. I will see you all on Pendulum Friday. And until then, enjoy this sort of holiday week and take good care and be well. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.